Katie and Mark Verbessa, identical twins, inseparable in life and in death. The Belgian brothers lived together in a village near Antwerp. Already born deaf, the twins found out 18 months ago they were both slowly going blind, suffering from a genetic form of glaucoma.
Their physical condition was rapidly deteriorating. They became increasingly dependent of their parents, and they were afraid their parents would die before they did. They did not want to lose their parents and end up being alone.
In all likelihood, in an institution. The 45-year-old twins had communicated with each other using sign language. The thought of losing their sight with no way to converse was too much. After talking to several psychiatrists, they sought legal permission to be euthanized, an option their parents initially resisted. A neighbor says she understands the decision.
I think it is good. If you don't have anything else anymore in life, if you can't see, can't hear, and can't speak, what else can you do? And they both had it.
Despite the fact their illness was not terminal, after a lengthy search for a willing doctor, the brothers' request was granted. By then, they had their family's support. And on December 14th, doctors at a hospital in Brussels gave both men a lethal injection. The doctor who oversaw the euthanasia says it was a weight off the brothers' shoulders.
They were happy and cheerful. We had coffee in the cafeteria and everything went well. Finally, they spoke to the hospital chaplain, which meant a lot to them. It was very helpful and reassuring. They said goodbye to their parents and to their brother, and then they waved at us, and that was the end of it.
Belgium is one of a handful of countries where euthanasia is legal, but the twins' case has reignited debate over whether it really should be. Jonathan Mann, CNN, Atlanta. Welcome back. Firefighting is dangerous work, and it's even more dangerous in extreme weather. This next piece of video from Siberia may be hard to watch, but we want you to know the firefighter you're about to see was not seriously hurt. He's having a bad day, but he hung on until another firefighter could help him down. What's more, they did manage to save a young child who was trapped inside the burning building.
It was a crime that gripped a nation 20 years ago. 9-year-old little girl named Katie Beers had been locked in a dungeon on Long Island and sexually abused by her kidnapper, a man named John Esposito. He kept her for 17 days, chained by the neck in a locked wooden box suspended above the ground. A television in the corner of this room provided the only distraction, the only light. Her meals were junk food. Well, ultimately, her captors broke down and she was able to be rescued. Beers revealed her story in a new book, which is called Buried Memories. It's nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
This book is such a page-turner, in part because I remember this story so well. The little girl whose poster was everywhere, as a fellow Long Islander, this was headline news. You ended up being kept in this dungeon, and when the pictures came out, it was just stunning. You were 10 years old when they rescued you.
Yes.
Did you think that you were going to die when you were held down there?
I hoped not. I held out hope that I would eventually go back and live with Marilyn. I thought more that John was going to kill himself. My abductor was going to kill himself or be killed in some way.
Which would leave you trapped underground.
Correct.
That wouldn't be any kind of salvation at all. There was a manhunt that did not find you. But in the process of this manhunt, it revealed the horrific childhood that you had had. I mean, every detail that was coming up that did not find you revealed just how neglected you were as a kid. Tell us about that.
My childhood consisted of enslavement by my godmother and my godmother's husband. Not only that, but also sexual abuse by my godmother's husband, verbal, physical, and emotional abuse by both my godmother herself and her husband, and neglect by my mother.
You were dirty. You never went to school. The question at the time was like, how did this little girl, this adorable little girl, fall through the cracks that no one even was tracking, that she wasn't going to school? How desperate was your life before the kidnapping?
Before the kidnapping, I loved going to school. It was a salvation for me to be able to go to school the 1 or 2 days a week that I actually attended. But before the abduction, my life was horrible, but I didn't realize it until many years afterward. I really didn't realize how horrible everything was.
Eventually, you would be rescued, and then you would go to court, and you would testify against grown men who had sexually assaulted you. And so many people thought, this is a 10-year-old girl who was so strong. Where did that strength come from, do you think?
I don't know where the strength came from, so to speak. My will to survive, though, and everything came from the years. My will to survive during the abduction came from the abuse that I sustained as a child, the abuse that I had from Linda and Sal, and the neglect from my mom prepared me for the horrible abduction.
Kate, you've known your abductor for some time.
Yes.
And apparently he had built this dungeon well in advance of your